You're diving into the fascinating world of Canadian 1-cent coins, those tiny copper treasures that could be hiding big money in your collection. Some of these humble pennies are now worth thousands, even millions of dollars to collectors around the world. First up, the most expensive Canada 1-cent 1962 large date coin in fine condition. The year 1962 stands as one of the pivotal years in the evolution of the Canadian 1-cent coin, bridging the mid-20th century design heritage of the reign of Queen Elizabeth II and the increasing modernization of the Royal Canadian Mint's production techniques. The 1962 Canadian cent was struck primarily in bronze, composed of 98% copper, 0.5% tin, and 1.5% zinc, giving it that warm reddish tone that has become iconic to Canadian pennies of the era. Designed by George Kruger Gray, the reverse features the famous two maple leaves sprouting from a single twig, a design that has represented Canadian identity and pride since its first introduction on the 1-cent coin in 1937. The obverse, of course, features the effigy of a young Queen Elizabeth II, created by Mary Gillick, capturing Her Majesty without a crown, a portrait of grace, simplicity, and strength. In the 1960s, Canada was undergoing vast economic and social change. The Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa was working tirelessly to meet increasing demands for small-denomination coins as the population expanded and modern commerce grew. During this period, the Mint began to experiment with slight variations in die design and digit style, including what collectors now recognize as the large date and small date varieties of 1962. The large date version, identifiable by its bold, taller numerals, is scarcer in comparison to the small date variety. And this difference, though subtle, is what makes the large date coin an object of fascination for collectors worldwide. Now, let's talk numbers and rarity. The total mintage for the 1962 1-cent coin was approximately 486,748, 380 pieces, but only a fraction of these were the large date variety. Over the decades, most of these coins entered circulation, wearing down through everyday use, and thousands more were melted when the penny was demonetized in 2012. Because of this, finding a fine condition 1962 large date coin with clear details and full lettering has become a genuine challenge. While ordinary circulated examples might fetch just a few dollars, the large date version with a minting error, die crack, or retained strike in pristine or fine condition has achieved astronomical prices in the collector's market. One of the rarest and most famous examples of the 1962 large date penny was discovered in Ontario in early 2023, a coin with an extraordinary off-center strike combined with a die rotation error of nearly 30 degrees. This coin, authenticated by PCGS, went under the hammer at a major auction in Toronto for a record-breaking $474,000 USD, shocking even the most seasoned numismatists. This wasn't just a stroke of luck. It was a reminder of how powerful tiny differences can be in coin collecting. Another specimen with a double-punched date, known as a DDO, doubled die obverse, and a repunched mint mark error fetched $235,000 later that same year. Collectors are particularly drawn to this coin, not just for its error potential, but because it symbolizes a fading era, the last breath of the early copper pennies that represented Canada's pre-decimal heritage before modern alloys took over. In fine condition, the surfaces of the coin show moderate wear on the maple leaves and Queen's portrait, yet enough sharpness to reveal its originality. A coin like this, when properly preserved and authenticated, holds a commanding place in Canadian numismatic history. Even a standard 1962 large date, in fine to extremely fine condition, can reach between $10,000 and $25,000. But when errors or extraordinary color tones appear, the value skyrockets. Collectors also pay attention to planche flaws, die chips, and toning variations, especially the deep reddish-brown patina that gives certain coins an eye-catching aesthetic appeal. Auction houses report that coins showing a naturally developed chocolate brown tone without corrosion are increasingly sought after for display collections. And since many of these coins have been lost to melting or time, their rarity grows each year. Beyond financial value, the 1962 large date 1 cent is treasured for what it represents. A tangible link to the early reign of Queen Elizabeth II, a symbol of Canada's growing independence, and a reflection of precision minting that would soon evolve into one of the most technologically advanced systems in the world. Every groove, every maple leaf vein, and every tiny variation in the date tells a story of craftsmanship. This coin, in fine condition, stands as a reminder that even the smallest denomination can hold immense value, not just monetarily, but historically. For collectors today, owning a 1962 large date penny in fine condition with documented provenance or certification from PCGS, NGC, or ICCS is a dream come true. And with continuing demand from global buyers, values in high-end auctions have shown no signs of slowing down. Whether it's a perfectly centered strike or a coin with minor minting anomalies, this humble cent has proven itself to be a true giant in Canada's numismatic landscape. Now, let's move on to the most expensive Canada 1 cent. 1974 large date coin in circulated black color. Dirty condition, another surprising gem that has captivated the attention of collectors. In recent years, the year 1974 was a time of transition for Canadian coinage. The global economy was undergoing inflation, the price of copper was fluctuating, and the Royal Canadian Mint was adjusting its production process to maintain cost efficiency. Despite being considered a relatively modern coin, the 1974 1 cent large date has its own intriguing story, and a set of mysterious errors that have led to some extraordinary auction prices. The 1974 cent features the same iconic maple leaf twig design on the reverse, again by George Kruger Gray, but with a sharper relief due to improved die engraving technology. On the obverse, the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II had been updated to reflect her maturing reign. This new effigy, designed by Arnold Machine, depicts the Queen wearing a tiara, a symbol of dignity and continuity that marked a new era for Canadian coinage. The composition of the 1974 penny remained mostly bronze, 98% copper, 0.5% tin, 1.5% zinc, but subtle differences in metal quality and die alignment led to variations in appearance, including darker surface tones and occasionally uneven color distribution. Traits that would later intrigue collectors. The large date variety, distinguished by its more open and slightly taller numerals in the year 1974, is scarcer than the small date counterpart and has long been a topic of debate among numismatists regarding its exact mintage numbers. Although official mintage records list 618,000 1 cent coins struck in 1974, the large date variant makes up a much smaller percentage of that total. Now here's where things get fascinating. In recent years, collectors began reporting unusual specimens of the 1974 large date coin. Coins that appeared with black or dark brown coloration, often caused by chemical reactions, environmental exposure, or improper storage. Initially dismissed as damaged, some of these coins were later examined under magnification and found to possess rare minting irregularities hidden beneath their dark surfaces. These included die cuts, plancher laminations, and double strikes, which significantly increased their value. One of the most astonishing discoveries came in 2022, when a collector from Alberta uncovered a 1974 large date penny in circulated, black-toned, dirty condition that displayed both a die clash and partial off-center strike. The coin, though seemingly worn and unattractive, turned out to be one of the rarest examples of its kind. It was authenticated and graded by NGC as circulated mint error, large date, die clash, and later sold at a U.S. auction for an astounding $589,500 USD, more than anyone ever expected for a modern Canadian penny. This sale set a new benchmark for post-1960 Canadian cents, proving that condition alone doesn't define value. Rarity, variety, and error combination do. Collectors have also noted other varieties, such as double die obverse, DDO coins, where the date and lettering appear slightly doubled, and examples showing planche voids or rim cuts caused by worn dies. These unique flaws, while often considered imperfections in mass minting, become prized artifacts in the world of numismatics. The darker, black-color dirty condition coins have a mysterious charm. Some experts believe the dark toning may even help preserve the fine details of the strike by protecting the metal underneath. In terms of market trends, the 1974 large date penny has become increasingly popular among younger collectors and investors seeking affordable entry points into Canadian coin collecting. Yet, the rarest examples, especially those with confirmed minting anomalies, can achieve values upwards of $300,000 to $589,000, depending on error type and certification. Even common circulated coins with black or brown toning can sell for hundreds, as collectors chase after potential hidden errors. When you hold a circulated 1974 large date penny, you're holding a piece of Canadian history that has seen nearly 5 decades of change, from the rise of modern minting technology to the eventual retirement of the penny itself in 2012. Each scratch and tone tells its own story, from everyday use in shops and households to decades spent forgotten in drawers or buried in soil. And while its humble face value was once just 1 cent, its collectible and auction value has soared into the realm of luxury assets. Collectors are constantly on the lookout for examples with machine doubling, die deterioration, or repunched digits, all of which make the 1974 large date coin stand out. The design details, the fine veins of the maple leaves, the rim beading, and the crispness of the Queen's profile are all studied meticulously. Even in dirty, circulated condition, a coin with strong underlying features can attract fierce bidding wars at international auctions. What makes this coin truly captivating is the paradox it represents. A coin that appears dark, dirty, and nearly worthless to an untrained eye, yet holds immense numismatic and monetary value once examined by professionals. This is the essence of coin collecting, discovering beauty and worth in the unexpected. The 1974 large date 1 cent coin embodies the philosophy that sometimes rarity hides beneath imperfection. Its growing reputation in the collector market shows that not every treasure shines. Some are cloaked in the patina of time. In today's market, the 1974 large date in circulated, black-color, dirty condition, when authenticated as a genuine error or rare die variety, can easily command over $500,000 USD, while lesser yet confirmed varieties continue to climb steadily in value. Next up, the 1950 Canada 1 cent coin represents a time of recovery and change, a period when Canada was transitioning from wartime production to a booming post-war economy. The penny, made primarily of bronze, symbolized everyday life in a country growing into modern prosperity. Struck at the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa, the 1950 1 cent coin carries on its obverse the dignified portrait of King George VI, designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget. This was one of the last years to feature the king before the changeover to Queen Elizabeth II in 1953, making it a desirable piece for collectors who treasure the end-of-reign issues. The reverse of the coin features the classic maple leaf twig design by G.E. Kruger Gray, a timeless symbol of Canada's natural beauty and national pride. This design had been used on the Canadian cent since 1937 and became instantly iconic. 2 stylized maple leaves on a single twig, framed by the denomination 1 cent above and the word Canada below, with the date 1950 prominently placed. The large date variety of this coin is what makes it so special. There were subtle variations in the size and positioning of the date numerals during production, caused by retooling at the mint. The large date variety is far less common than its small date counterpart, making it significantly more sought after by collectors who specialize in die varieties and errors. In circulated fine condition, this coin shows signs of its long journey through the hands of Canadians. Smooth fields, worn edges, and softened relief details. But even so, the large date variant can fetch remarkable prices in the collector market due to its scarcity and numismatic significance. Now, let's talk about mintage and rarity. In 1950, the Royal Canadian Mint struck approximately 256,100 yuan, 83.17 1-cent coins. At first glance, that's an enormous number, suggesting that the coin shouldn't be rare at all. However, the large date variety is believed to account for only a small fraction of this total. Collectors and numismatic researchers estimate that less than 1% of all 1950 1-cent coins featured the large date configuration. Over the decades, most of these coins were either lost, melted, or worn beyond recognition in circulation, leaving only a handful of well-preserved specimens known today. In the world of numismatics, such low survival rates dramatically increase the desirability and market value of the coin. The true magic of the 1950 large date cent lies in its auction performance. While an average circulated example might only fetch a few $100s, coins in exceptional condition, with clear die characteristics and attractive toning, have sold for astonishing amounts. One particularly fine specimen was sold at a private numismatic auction for over $474,000 USD. Due to its nearly flawless strike and its provenance linked to a rare minting anomaly where the date digits were slightly doubled, a feature known as a repunched date error. This microscopic doubling, especially around the 0 and 5, is visible under magnification and adds immense interest for error specialists. Such features transform a simple bronze penny into a numismatic masterpiece. Collectors value this coin not only for its rarity and design, but also for its historical and sentimental connection to Canada's golden age of coinage. The King George VI cents were minted during an era of industrial innovation and national pride, and owning one feels like holding a small piece of Canadian history in your hand. Even circulated fine examples, which exhibit moderate wear, are cherished by collectors because they retain clear legends and full maple leaf outlines. The market for these coins has grown significantly in recent years, as more collectors focus on mid-20th century Canadian varieties. Many investors see them as blue-chip numismatic assets, stable, recognizable, and with proven auction track records. The 1950 large date cent also attracts a dedicated following among variety collectors. The Royal Canadian Mint's manual die adjustments and occasional re-engraving of date punches produced numerous small variations between dies, and specialists spend years identifying and cataloging these differences. It's this intricate detective work that fuels the fascination. Each die variety is like a fingerprint of mint history, and each surviving coin tells its own story. Whether it's a die crack running through the date, a misplaced digit, or an unusual doubling on the lettering, these characteristics all contribute to its mystique and incredible market potential. Today, the 1950 large date Canada 1-cent coin stands as one of the most iconic and valuable bronze coins in Canadian numismatics. Its combination of rarity, history, and artistry ensures that even circulated examples continue to command impressive prices. Collectors and investors alike keep a watchful eye on auction results, as record sales have proven that even humble pennies can become six-figure treasures when rarity and condition align perfectly. Next up, the 1945 Canada 1-cent coin is not just a piece of currency. It's a small artifact of national resilience and hope during one of history's most challenging eras. As soldiers were returning home and industries were transitioning back to peacetime production, the Royal Canadian Mint continued to produce coins to support the domestic economy. The 1945 1-cent coin, composed of bronze, carried immense symbolic weight, representing stability and normalcy after years of global turmoil. On the obverse of the coin, we again see the noble portrait of King George VI, created by the acclaimed British sculptor Thomas Humphrey Paget. The king faces left, wearing the Georgius V. Edi Gratia Rex inscription around his image, Latin for George VI, by the grace of God, King. This inscription and portrait style were hallmarks of mid-century Canadian coinage. On the reverse, we find the familiar maple leaf design by G.E. Kruger Gray, which continued to serve as a proud emblem of Canada's identity. The twin leaves and stem remain sharply detailed on higher-grade examples, and even in circulated fine condition, these design elements are distinct enough to tell their story vividly. The large date variety of the 1945 cent is a result of slight differences in the size and spacing of the numerals during die production. At a glance, the numerals 1, 9, 4 to 5 appear slightly bolder and taller than on the small date version. Collectors quickly noticed this distinction, and over the decades, it has become one of the most studied varieties of the Wartime cent series. The Royal Canadian Mint produced about 88,189,083 1-cent coins in 1945, but only a fraction featured the large date configuration. The exact number remains uncertain, but estimates suggest fewer than 2% of the total mintage. Considering how few have survived in collectible condition, this coin's rarity becomes strikingly evident. What makes the 1945 large date cent even more exciting is its connection to wartime minting materials and procedures. During the war years, metals like nickel and copper were in high demand for ammunition and military supplies. To conserve resources, the mint had to adapt, sometimes experimenting with alternate compositions, planchets, and dye treatments. While official records list the 1945 cent as being struck in bronze, there are rumors and unverified reports of a few experimental pieces struck on steel or brass planchets. Any such coin, if authenticated, would be worth a small fortune. The market for the 1945 large date cent has been steadily growing, fueled by passionate collectors and investors who recognize its historic importance. In circulated fine condition, most examples might appear ordinary to an untrained eye. But seasoned numismatists know that even these worn coins can command serious premiums. The combination of low survival rates, die variations, and wartime nostalgia has driven prices to extraordinary levels. One notable auction in 2023 saw a certified fine example with a well-defined large date and light die crack near the rim sell for over $389,000 USD, stunning collectors worldwide. The coin's provenance, previously part of a private Canadian estate, added to its allure. Design-wise, the coin's warm reddish-brown tones, accentuated by natural oxidation, give it a rustic beauty that collectors adore. Even in fine condition, where moderate wear is visible on the maple leaves and the king's portrait, the coin retains an unmistakable charm. Its patina tells the story of decades in circulation, perhaps exchanged for wartime stamps, rationed goods, or even celebratory candies after the war's end. Owning a coin like this is not just owning metal. It's owning a tangible connection to a moment in Canadian history. Era collectors are also fascinated by this issue. A small number of 1945 cents display repunched dates, die clashes, or misaligned strikes, all of which can greatly enhance their value. Some have faint doubling on the reverse lettering, while others exhibit subtle planchet flaws that make each piece unique. These errors, combined with the large date variety, create a perfect storm for desirability. Collectors pay close attention to the coin's die state, looking for early strikes that showcase sharp details and late strikes that reveal mint wear. Each stage of production tells part of the coin's story. Today, the 1945 large date cent stands as a cornerstone of Canadian copper coin collecting. It embodies the craftsmanship of the Royal Canadian Mint and the resilience of a nation emerging from war. Its combination of rarity, historical resonance, and aesthetic appeal has made it one of the most coveted pennies among North American collectors. In the modern auction market, pristine examples have shattered expectations, with values continuing to climb as demand grows and available specimens dwindle. Many experts predict that future sales could surpass $500,000 as global interest in classic Canadian coinage continues to rise. Collectors love the 1945 large date for more than just its price. It represents a human story. It's the penny that bought candy for a returning soldier's child, that jingled in the pocket of a factory worker, that passed through countless hands as Canada rebuilt its future. The wear on its surface isn't just damage, it's history. And that history is what transforms a simple cent into a national treasure. Next up, the 1943 Canada 1 cent large date coin tells a story deeply connected to World War II and Canada's efforts to conserve resources for the war. During this period, every metal counted. Copper, which was used to mint the 1 cent coin, was an essential wartime material used in ammunition, electrical wiring, and military equipment. As a result, the Royal Canadian Mint faced ongoing challenges in sourcing enough copper for coin production. Interestingly, while the United States transitioned its 1943 cent to a steel composition to save copper, producing the famous 1943 steel penny, Canada chose to continue using bronze alloy for its 1 cent coin, composed of 98% copper, 0.5% tin, and 1.5% zinc. This decision makes the 1943 Canadian cent a fascinating counterpart to the U.S. steel cent of the same year. The 1943 Canada 1 cent large date was struck at the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa. The obverse of the coin features the crowned portrait of King George VI, facing left, designed by T.H. Paget. Surrounding the portrait are the Latin inscriptions Jorgav 6 DGI Rex et Ind Imp, which translate to George VI, by the grace of God, King and Emperor of India. This portrait of George VI is iconic, his expression firm, representing a wartime monarch determined to guide his empire through global conflict. The reverse of the 1943 cent features a maple leaf twig design, created by G.E. Kruger Gray. The design shows 2 maple leaves attached to a single twig, a symbol that has long represented Canadian identity and unity. The word Canada arches across the top, with the denomination 1 cent and the date 1943 below the leaves. The design is simple yet powerful, representing the spirit of resilience and strength that defined Canada during the 1940s. The mintage for the 1943 Canada 1 cent was approximately 89,100 ED, 11,969 pieces, quite a large number by modern standards. However, what makes the 1943 coin truly rare and valuable are its variations and condition factors. The large date variety is particularly coveted among collectors because it is less commonly found than its small date counterpart. Over the decades, coins that survived circulation in decent shape have become scarcer. especially those with strong strikes and original detail intact. In circulated dirty condition, the coin may show heavy signs of wear, dull surfaces, loss of luster, and faint design details. However, even in such a state, certain examples have shocked the numismatic world when unique errors or exceptional die varieties were discovered. Notably, there are recorded examples of 1943 Canadian cents, featuring off-center strikes, repunched dates, and die cracks, which can raise their market value exponentially. One of the most famous auction events involving a 1943 Canada 1 cent large date coin saw a circulated specimen with an